Hello, my name is Steve Russell, and I am with the Pine Island Oral History Project. Today is July 24th, 2025, and we are in Bokeelia, Florida, on Pine Island. Today we are fortunate to be interviewing John Honc, the patriarch of the Honc family, probably the most well-known family on Pine Island. Born right here on Pine Island way back in 1935. I don't believe it is an exaggeration to say that John founded a dynasty right here on the island. And we are going to ask him to share some of his stories with us today. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
Could you tell us a little bit about the early history of your family, how they happened to come here from Czechoslovakia, I believe?
That's right.
Was that your great-grandfather?
No, I never knew my grandparents.
Oh.
Daddy and Mother were here, and they were pretty close to Adam and Eve.
Okay. And what year was that?
And Daddy came to the States through Baltimore in 1911 at age 26 and single.
And how is it that they happened to come to Florida?
Well, Daddy came from cold country in old country. He spent 2 or 3 years in Chicago, and that's pretty cold too.
Yeah.
He was looking for some warmer weather. He read an advertisement in the trade magazine, the Florist Review. Mr. Jim Henry was looking for a man that could go work in his nursery as a grower, all kinds at that time. Dad corresponded with Mr. Henry, and it followed pretty quickly that he was on his way to Florida. He spotted God's country when he saw it.
Yeah. And so I believe he did some growing of mangoes. He tried avocados, right?
Right. His first endeavor was an avocado grove. It was not successful in that the first avocados drowned out from too much water, fresh water. That swung him into mangoes, thinking that they might be a little more hardy. Those also mangoes they're a special breed. They are not, their production of edible fruit, you can't count on it, in my opinion. In that, Daddy provided, he knew of mangoes will not come true to seed in the building of mango trees. If you plant a mango seed, it's no telling what you're going to get.
I've heard that.
And it takes a lot of years to find out. At any rate, from the there was Daddy had the first mango grove on the island, and he learned of a process to produce good mango trees of the varieties that he wanted. And he proceeded into the production of good mango trees to the point that most all of the original groves on Pine Island, Daddy built the little trees from seed through a grafting process that he developed to trees that would produce when the Spirit of the Lord moved mangoes to bear fruit.
And I understand that you were born in 1935, right here on the island. Is that
Yes,
right?
sir.
And I wonder if you could tell me anything you remember about your early years growing up here on Pine Island. Say do you remember anything from the first 10, 15 years?
Well, if you wanted to get to Pine Island, there was not a motor road to Pine Island. You came in by boat.
Oh.
This is hearsay because I wasn't around when Dad came the first time to the island in a boat, and Dad and Mom got to Fort Myers in about 3 jumps. There was the Punta Gorda Fish Company ran a run boat to pick up the main product of Pine Island, which was good old mullet. I believe the first motor road was built in about 1926 with a bridge across Mount Lachey Pass. I think the 28 storm took the first bridge out, and then it was another couple of years before they put it back together again. Our family were of the Catholic faith from the beginnings. When Mom and Dad, Mother came to Florida, to Naples, as a nanny for a family that wintered in Naples. When they hit the United States, that family of one, my dad, they were in Chicago for a time, and I think they were in Chicago for probably about 3 years. Independently, Mother and Dad came to Florida. And Daddy was employed by Jim Henry at that time as Everglades Nursery, and Mother was a nanny to the Miller children. Mr. and Mrs. Miller wintered. They were attached to Timken Roller Bearing Company, and I think it was in Cleveland, Ohio, but they wintered in Naples. Dad heard about this little Czech girl, and he was ready to settle down, and that was the beginning of my existence, and it's just kind of grown to a pretty good share of the population.
It sure has. You have 9 children. You have a bunch of great-grandchildren, and I understand you have some great-great-grandchildren.
At this point, we're into the 5th generation.
Yeah. And so your early days on Pine Island, you say there was just a dirt road, and then they built the bridge, which washed out and then rebuilt. I understand that there wasn't hardly anything from Island Center down to St. James City. Do you remember anything about the roads on the island?
Yeah, I think actually there was somewhat of a road, if you want to call it that, the length of the island that is now Stringfellow Boulevard, because the county commissioner in the early years was Harry Stringfellow. I think he held that position for about 25 or 26 years. And it just kind of grew from there. Basically, it was, if you were working the island, you were interested in fishing, which Daddy was not particularly. There were orange and grapefruit groves, mango and avocado groves. It was either fishing or agriculture, and whatever fall off businesses or occupations were along the way.
And can you describe your recollections of where you lived on Pine Island, and what your house was like, what your life was like as a young boy?
Our house was in the north east end of Pine Island, about 2 miles south of Bokeelia. Bokeelia was on a separate little island, Bosilla Island, on the north end of Pine Island. It was pine and palmetto woods. There were net spreads and boats and fish houses. It was the fishing industry was primary. A good share of the population were fishermen. Daddy was not. He was not inclined to go that route. He was a grower. His first thing was an avocado grove, which drowned out to fresh water. The second go round was a mango grove. In my estimation, up and coming as a young fella, and those and mangoes and avocado groves and citrus groves on the island were here long before I was. And any business or livelihood that touched on either fishing or agriculture, there was lumbering on the island, because originally Pine Island it was really Pine Island, had beautiful big longleaf pine that was logged off, and the lumber cut on portable sawmills that came and went from the island. But the connection to the island was waterborne. There were Dad did not, his basic education in the old country was agriculture, specifically the wine industry, which was non-existent in this part of Florida in those days. You made a living any way you could. Lived off the land where you could. There used to be wild pigs on the island. Dad's interest was family life. He and my mother did not they were both single when they came to this part of Florida. Mother was a nanny for a northern family that wintered in Naples. And Daddy was, he got into growing, working for Jim Henry. In those days I don't know when the name Everglades Nursery came in, but Daddy moved from his original job in the U.S. in Chicago to Florida to a job with Jim Henry in a nursery that he had in kind of on the eastern edge of Fort Myers.
Now, I wonder, John, how many brothers and sisters did you have?
I had, in my family, brothers and sisters, 7 sisters, and 1 brother.
Oh, a large family.
Yes.
Uh-huh. And I understand there, back then, there may have been a few mosquitoes on Pine Island. Is that true?
Yes, sir. If we could have boxed up mosquitoes and shipped them out for profit, we would have been millionaires.
Yeah, I can imagine. What did you do? I mean, there wasn't, did you even have screens? I mean, is there any way to avoid the mosquitoes?
Yeah, you had screens on your house.
Okay.
And they had smudge pots, and they had good old Gulf spray and one of these little hand sprayers. It's when the sun went down, you kept the doors, the screen doors and windows shut, and hope there was some blood in your veins in the morning.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Do you remember? Was it? Were you going to school in the early days there?
Not in the early age, no. I mean, I did. Dad and Mom came to Pine Island to live and begin a family in early 1918.
Oh.
Daddy bought. By that time, he had 10 acres that increased to about 40 acres of pine and palmetto woods that he owned. He bought the first part with a 10-acre piece, and it had a good old pine cracker house on there. We sported screens on the windows and wooden shutters that you on hinges that you could swing shut and nail shut when the storms came along.
Sure. Do you remember any of the big storms?
There was, I just remember, yes, periodically we had storms, varying degrees of intensity. And some of them just blew, and some of them blew a lot of water. The property that we're on today, I never had a water problem from storm surge until this year with the last two storms. And this year I had almost 24 inches of water inside my house.
That was from Helene and Milton, I believe.
Yes.
So, when you, say you're 6, 7, 8 years old, you just played out in the yard and that sort of thing? Did you explore the woods and the palmettos, the area around here?
Oh yeah, but back when I did that kind of exploring, it was all on foot. Mm-hmm. And I was almost the tail end of a 9-person family, mm-hmm. Brothers and sisters, and I was next to the bottom, and it was, Mom and Dad had Dad was, the main thing was the nursery business that Daddy produced mango trees. He had cut flowers in flower beds along our driveway. He produced his cut flowers, supplied the Boca Grande Hotel on Boca Grande Island.
What kind of flowers were they?
I know he had some chrysanthemums, he had roses, he had ferns, and I mean it was all ornamental. He took them down to Bokelia in a old hearse wagon, and they had connections. The hotel had a boat that picked them up, picked up the cut flowers almost daily from the dock at Bokelia.
Uh-huh. Well, did you, I've heard that in the early days on Pine Island there were a lot of snakes, like rattlesnakes and so forth. Did you ever encounter any of those?
Yes, there were a number of, yeah, and to me, to this day, if I see a rattlesnake, he's not going to make it through if I can help it.
Right.
A man and rattlesnakes, they can't cohabit.
Mm-hmm. And did you do any hunting or fishing as a young boy?
I didn't do much hunting or fishing mm-hmm. as I was a little. I loved to work with my dad before school, and then whenever I had a chance, when Dad worked here on his own nursery, I worked at it. Every time I had a chance to work with my dad, I didn't miss a chance.
And that sort of leads us into what you started doing as you became older. You you went into heavy equipment, I believe.
Yes. It's kind of a side shoot off the side. I had, when you start out with pine and palmetto woods, you got to clear it to have the land usable. And I always liked machinery. And from very early, I played with tractors, little tractors in the dirt, and then bigger tractors in more dirt. And I never really grew up. I love to play with that way today if I could. I made in the when my one brother got out of high school, the first go-round was starting back up a nursery on the Isle of Deer. Dad had, to get my sisters educated, they had grade schools on the island, but then the high schools were in Fort Myers, and that involved a school bus and transportation into that. And it was, it worked. Dad was pretty much of a diplomat. And when there was a bus that ran into Fort Myers for high school, Daddy did his politicking with the school board and the county commissioners so that they transported my brother and sisters into Fort Myers on the public school bus. We went to St. Francis St. Francis School when it was built, and I think it opened in 1938, and I started the first grade there in 1940.
Mm-hmm.
And I did 8 years in the St. Francis School. I did 1 year in the Fort Myers Junior High Public School, and then the last 3 years of high school was at St. Leo College Prep for boys in St. Leo, Florida, about 40 miles north of Tampa. That was a boarding school. And about that time was the Korean War got going good. My brother was of draft age. He was drafted. He did 2 years in the Army. He did not go overseas. They put him in, he spent most of his 2 years in Fort Benning, Georgia. He was a mortar instructor. But that kept him from getting shot up. He did not appreciate military service. I mean, it was just circumstances. But he served, and I've got a flag to tuck him in the ground with when we do, or we'll keep it as a family heirloom.
So you had various experiences as a young man, and then You liked heavy equipment, and you got started. Someone told me that you built a lot of seawalls.
Yes, sir. We did. I had I had a little bulldozer and a little drag line on it was a truck crane. We had Ford tractors and dump trucks, and it was those were kind of an offshoot from the. You needed that kind of equipment to get your land cleared, to get your dirt in for potting soil. You needed the fringe benefit that you could use these machines to clear for other people also. I had a little international bulldozer that I hauled around on the back of a flatbed dump truck. And I spent time clearing our own land, and when somebody else needed some land cleared, I was kind of Johnny on the spot. And my equipment was small, but there was a job for the little stuff. The land was beginning to be developed in home sites, and there's palmettos and pine trees that got to come out, pushed up, stacked and burned in those days, and then spread the ashes back on the land, and the houses came after that.
Do you remember about what year that was?
I got out of school in 1952, and I think in 1955 I had a little international bulldozer. I had a little Sargent truck crane with a drag bucket. Had a Ford tractor with a front end loader on it. All these can be connected in the growing business, but it also provided cash from local jobs. I'd come by and say, "Hey, Johnny, I got a lot down there. I need it cleared. I want to build." And home base was right on this property. I could haul, and I worked primarily on Pine Island. Spread out to a little farther into Lee County, and a little bit of work up in Charlotte County, not too much south in Collier, but it kind of grew to that. And how this seawalling start was with Frank Delabetta and Frank's Fish Camp down here in local Bocuya. I was on at the owner of Frank's was Frank Delabetta. He had quite a bit of mangrove swampland, and he had rental boats, and he was in developing that bit for a boat rental and a fish camp sort. He needed a seawall. He came over while I was potting down in the lath shed one day, and Frank came along and he says, "Johnny," he was from a bridge building company, a small company in New Jersey, and he and his brother, after the war, I don't really know how they came into the land that they had, but a boat basin was cut out of the mangrove swamp. And Frank had rental boats. He sold gasoline. He was a fish dealer for the local fishermen. He rented little boats with motors. The place he had just on Jug Creek down here, if you had a boat on a trailer, he had a boat ramp. If you didn't have a boat, if you didn't have your own boat, you could rent a little boat with a comparatively little motor, at least by today's standards, and go fishing. And to tie up for your boats, you need docks and seawall, and you need to fill the swamp, because you can't very well drive through mangroves. You got to push them down. You got to put some dirt on top of them, and build it so that cars can come in for that part of the business. Frank said he recognized the equipment that I had was about everything you needed for seawalling. Hey, Frank, I don't know how to build seawalls. He says, no problem, I'll help you. Because he was quite familiar with marine construction on a small scale. And with Frank's help, we built wood forms. We poured concrete slabs right on his property. Picked them up with the crane, swung them into place, jetted them in, and a little bit of wall at a time.
Oh.
I think the first wall was about 100 feet. Frank was slowly developing his boat business, and like a little marina, there's still a whole bunch of little marinas on the island. They've grown bigger, and as he made enough to build another piece of seawall, he would extend a little bit every year. And it went from that to seawall on other private land for folks that were wanting to build out here. And along with seawalling and the rest of the construction, we hauled fill dirt for the foundations of concrete block houses, and the business just grew.
And so did you do mostly seawall construction and that sort of thing through most of your career, or did you do other things as well with heavy equipment?
Yeah, I mean, actually it's almost any job that came through the door, we'd have a go at it. And you can't build a seawall by yourself. So we kind of got friends that were waterborne people in the beginning, and they were looking for extra cash jobs, and then it got to be to full-time jobs when the island grew to the point that we just got stuff to do all the time.
And at some point you started a family, and a pretty good sized one, I believe.
Yes, sir. Lil and I have 9 children. We were just the opposite of what my own family, My mother and daddy had 7 girls and 2 boys. We had 7 boys and 2 girls. We lost 2 boys on the way up, and natural attrition almost. One was a little guy, he drowned when he was 5 years old. And another one we lost at about 20 years in an auto accident. And I won't say it was normal procedure, but a lot of Pine Island boys didn't live to maturity. But it's all been good.
And I believe that basically all of your sons have gone into the family business.
Yes.
How did that come about? How did you work that?
Well, there was a lot of good hard work and a lot of help from the good Lord. The boys started, when the kids came along, John was the first one, and he was on a Ford tractor when he was so little that he operated a Ford tractor for grading, sitting on top of it in about the middle of the tractor. And the clutch is on one side and the brake pedals are on the other side. And the first 2, 3 boys, they were on those tractors when their legs weren't long enough to reach both pedals at once. And they'd kind of balance from one side to the other as when needed. And we got some real good operators. They went from Ford tractor to bulldozer to backhoes to cranes with a drag bucket or just a crane for setting wall slabs or piling. And so one time it was I think all the kids grew up working in the business. I mean, from when they were this big on up. Child labor laws, the only way you can raise them is to make them operators. And it was not an intentional thing, but it was just, they see machinery, they want to go try it out.
Just like their dad.
That's what it amounted to, yeah. And it's been good. We were all together in business at one time. And when our first one, John Jr., came along when he was about a year and a half out of school, he says, "Dad, let me run your business." Fine. I mean, he knew it from the ground up. He could do way better with writing and handling people and keeping records and all that good stuff. And I said, "Sure, I'll be with you all the way." And the kids all came in. It wasn't it seemed like all of the kids were industrious little rascals, and they were capable. And they didn't play around. I mean, they made work, and it was just, I don't know whether it was always good for them or how they look at it. But as they came up, they came in and went to work until they found better things, or there were other attractions that took them out. But they were all in it together. But trying to, of course, labor laws are something that we're out here in the boondocks. You didn't have to worry about that. I mean, you kids. I had Alan. Alan was number 5, and the one we lost. He used to go on the job with me before school, before he went to school. And he'd get up and go with me in the morning, and he worked all day and came home. Got them scrubbed up clean at night and put them to bed, and loved the daylights out of them.
Yeah.
They were, and they seemed to enjoy it.
Sure they did.
They're it's been good, and then it got so big that it was hard to manage. And I was willing for John to do the management at 18 and a half years old.
Oh.
And he did a wonderful job, and it made my life so much easier.
Sure.
Because I really don't like paperwork. I got into trouble a couple of times when in the beginning with seawalling, a guy'd come along, Johnny, come build me a seawall. Okay, that's fine. And we'd shake hands on the deal. We didn't bother with permits. I mean, permits were non-existent. Mm-hmm. But then as things grew, I'm not gonna permitting got to be troublesome, because at the county level, we got along good with them. You just go down to the courthouse, go into the county engineer's office, and he'd give you a permit, and you would pay him whatever the fee was, and you'd go from there. Well, when it got to be just about the time things were happening and beginning to happen more and more, the Corps of Engineers, the Army Corps of Engineers, got involved, and they said, well, you've got to have a permit for this. They had no setup to issue permits. And that left us hanging, because we had about 5 children already, and that was my groceries and living for my family. And I had been working this way, and I was not going to stop. My family has always been first. And of course, that caused trouble. And it took a while before the county got organized, whereby they had a system for permitting that we had to comply with. And it wasn't, the legal end of it got particularly bad. And I have a hard time with paperwork. And it was a blessing when John said, Dad, let me take care of it for you. He did. And he was a little more diplomatic about dealing with the powers that be than I was. And anyway, we got through it. Now, the boys continue and have bunches of girls and men working in the office just pushing paper. And in my opinion, a good share of that was not necessary at all. But we survived that. John was a diplomat, and he could follow through and do the paperwork necessary to work with the people coming in, telling you what to do, and they didn't know how to do it themselves. But we lived through it, barely.
You know, about 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago, there, on September 22nd, there happened to be a big hurricane that came to visit Pine Island, Hurricane Ian. And as you recall, it washed out the road in Matlacha.
Yes, sir.
Did a lot of damage. And of course it isolated us as an island, I believe, for a couple weeks or so. And it was, I remember, it was Honc that repaired that road in a record time and hooked us back up to civilization. So I think most people remember, people who lived here then remember with great fondness the Honc people that did that.
Yes, sir. We had, there were a lot of good people that backed us up on that. And of course, this was home, and how do you get out here after you've had a road? You can't just snatch the road out and get all kinds of foolishness for answers when you say, can we build this back? Mm-hmm. And it got, we have some people, and it's almost a part of the family, that just get out of our way and let us go, and we'll take care of ourselves. It tickled the life out of me because I was here in this house through Eon, and my son Ken lives first house this way, and on down another quarter mile Dan lives, and another half a mile down is Damien, and Ken is 50 yards away in the next house. Those guys, they had a lot of material that they were going to build. It was scheduled for regular customers, and they had a bunch of work down there, and they had a lot of rock, and it tickled the life out of me because my grandson Steve, who runs my second son Dan's business, telling him, speaking with Governor DeSantis, if you're not going to build that road, we're going to build it. And they proceeded to go from there.
Yeah.
And Pine Islanders, they're a different kind of people. They're independent, and they'll get the job done. Just get out of our way. Anyway, Steve's crew, or Dan's crew, Stephen is Dan's son, and he's running Honc Industries. And he's full of spice and vinegar, and in no uncertain terms, well, if you're not going to say do that, we're going to build it. And the trucks rolled the next morning.
Right.
And they got it. They got the gap plugged.
Can you think of some of your best memories of Pine Island that you'd care to share with us before we wrap it up? Just what is it about Pine Island that you enjoyed most during your life?
Well, they're a special kind of people that come out to Pine Island to live. They're independent. We got some bad eggs in there occasionally, but for the most part, they're all good people. And we will take care of ourselves. We would like help if everybody else is getting help, but we don't want it 6 months from now. We got to come and go like tomorrow or the next day. We can't sit around for 2 or 3 weeks to be able to go to we've got our own grocery stores now, but all fuel is supplied from off island. We're dependent on the roads and bridges out here, and there's no sense in being bogged down with paperwork when just get out of the way and let us haul rock and dirt and that type of thing. The fire department of on Pine Island, originally it was a volunteer program, and when the other communities within Lee County were worrying about getting the county commissioners to do something, these boys put that fire department together. They had the best one. They had EMT services, and they take care of their own.
I've heard that, and I've heard the name Harry Brown comes to mind. He was involved with St. James City Fire Department, I believe. But that is still the case. They're the first responders.
Yes.
Very important.
Yeah, I'm not a fireman. Nor was I ever a part of it. But my brother, Vince, he was fire chief for a brief period. But back in the old days, Marty Slater and Dale Judlick was their mechanic. They built their own fire trucks, and they put it all together, and they took care of the place.
Sure. Well, I think with that we will wrap it up. It's been almost an hour, and I can't thank you enough, Mr. Honc, for sitting here with us and sharing these stories. I think it'll be important in time for people to be able to look back on these things. And it was a real honor interviewing a pioneer like yourself. Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.